Hi, this is Beth from Ampy's Attic. Today isn't my project, but actually one that my daughter made using the North Pole IOD Christmas paint inlay. And what makes this project especially fun is what looks like an old distressed wooden sign isn't actually wood at all. She was looking through our back room for just the right size board for the section of the inlay she wanted to use, and she came back carrying this piece of styrofoam. That started a whole discussion, and of course we had to experiment. At first she was just going to paint it using tarnished pearl from DIY Paint, but we thought all those grooves from the styrofoam beads might still show through. So instead she decided to use Paint Couture embossing medium to create a smoother surface. She applied it with an IOD Silicone Blade, scraping it across the styrofoam, but intentionally leaving behind some texture and little ridges. It ended up giving the surface almost a plaster-like appearance. Once that dried, she gave the entire piece a coat of tarnished pearl, which we unfortunately missed recording. Then she dry brushed to DIY dark and decrepit liquid patina across the surface. This did a couple of things. It helped seal that bottom layer before adding more paint, but it also settled into all that texture and created those really interesting lines that almost looked like wood grain. Most of this would eventually be covered by the final coat of paint, but anywhere it did show through would have that darker aged wood appearance. She also added dark and decrepit around the edges, which really helped disguise the styrofoam and make it look like an old piece of wood. And then something really neat happened. As she started drying it, the paint began to crackle. It wasn't something we had necessarily planned, but those little crack lines made the surface look even more like aged painted wood. Once the dark and decrepit was dry, she added another coat of tarnished pearl, and while that paint was still wet, she applied the section of the North Pole paint inlay she had chosen. Before laying it into the wet paint, she lightly misted the inlay with water, and then once it was in place, she misted it again to help make sure the inlay had good contact with the paint. Now, we do have a tendency to get a little impatient around here, so we used a blow dryer to speed up the drying process. If you do the same thing, just make sure that the paper is completely dry before moving on to the next step. And then, once everything was dry, she re-wet the paper and slowly pulled it back for the reveal. And I truly think this is the real reason she always wants to use paint inlays. There is just something so satisfying about this part. After removing the paper, she touched up a few areas around the edges and let everything dry completely. Then for the final step, she sealed the entire piece with Paint Couture Spray Topcoat in satin. Using the Spray Topcoat is especially nice over an inlay because you aren't brushing back and forth across the design and risking smearing or disturbing it. And here it is. Unless you actually pick this sign up, you really can't tell that it isn't an old distressed wooden board. We actually tested that with a few people, and it was fun to watch their faces be so surprised when they saw how light it was. I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did, please give us a like and make sure to subscribe and follow along as we continue creating with the new IOD Christmas release and plenty more. And if you try to take a piece of styrofoam packing out of a package and do something like this, we would love for you to share it with us. Thanks so much for watching.